We are at page 61, the Mishnah. And before we start the Mishnah, I'd like to share with you some point of introduction. There is a concept in Halakha, in Jewish law, that speaks about two different situations. One is something that is common, it's called tadir. You're doing that all the time or more often. And there is another one that's called she'eino tadir, something that you have in a sense less often. Some examples. We have a daily offering. Time of Beit HaMikdash was every single day an offering. We have an additional offering applied specifically at Shabbat and other special occasions. So when they have the choice between the two, they always go by the something that is more frequent. Let's use some other example. If we have Shabbat and Rosh Chodesh, so what is more often? Tell me, what's more often?
Shabbat.
Shabbat. So since Shabbat is more often, therefore it's take precedent, it's more frequent. Or we have a Rosh Chodesh and Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Chodesh is more often. So you go always by something that is more frequent. Now, the point I'd like to introduce to you, there is a book called Sha'agat Aryeh, and this is the point of departure that I would like to share with you before we go to the Sugiyah, the Mishnah and the Gemarrah afterward. So we have one concept that is called Tadir v'she'eino Tadir. Tadir kodem, frequent, non-frequent. Frequent, take precedent. Now, there is another concept in Halakha that it's called Ein ma'avirin al ha-mitzvot. What does that mean? Let's say you have the talit and the tefillin. What do you put first?
The talit.
Talit. What happens if you have now the tefillin and the talit is not there? Somehow you can't find it. Right? So you put the tefillin and later you put the talit. So it's always, you go by a frequent mitzvah. You have something that you have right away at the front of you. You do not go and do other things if you have an opportunity. How do you learn that? The Torah tells us, Ushmartem et hamatzot. So the famous statement from Reish Lakish, it tells us that you can play with the words matzot mitzvot, which means mitzvah haba'a liyadcha al tachmitzena. If you have an opportunity to do mitzvah, do not miss that opportunity. So if you have the Shulchan Aruch, the code said in Kafhein 25, if you have a chance to do a hand tefillin and head tefillin, so for sure hand is the first one. But if you have no other choice, if it's a opportunity to do mitzvah, so in a very basic idea is you'd not miss this opportunity. Now, the sugiyah we're going to study is a situation that a person thinking about one thing and something else happened. Or if there is a certain category applies specifically on Pesach offering, and we explained it in the past, the Paschal lamb carries a different meaning because the whole purpose of preparation, slaughtering that Paschal lamb, preparation of Paschal lamb is specifically for what? The purpose is to eat it right away. So now we have here the Mishnah. You know what, let's start with the Mishnah and then we'll go to the understanding of the Sha'agat Aryeh. The Mishnah said, Shchato shelo leochlav. A fellow, he slaughtered the Paschal lamb for people who cannot eat it, which means there are certain people cannot eat it. Who are they? You remember we discussed situation like elderly person, sick person. Veshelo limnuyav. You have a team, you have a group of people, like in our language, subscribers, people who partake of the mitzvah of Paschal lamb. So since Paschal lamb is different than all the other offering, for example, the other offering, when you have a zrika, which is the sprinkle, so you have to do it for that goal. But if it wasn't for the purpose of that offering, we don't treat it the same way. Why? Because the whole idea of Paschal lamb is to eat the meat, to eat the lamb. So they said, if someone slaughter the Paschal lamb for people who cannot eat, or for those who not partake in advance to eat it, la'arelim velatmeim, people, the Torah said, we explained it yesterday, the Torah said that people who are not doesn't have the Brit Milah, or people who are impure, meaning they have ritual impurity, so pasul, so that Paschal lamb cannot be, is disqualified. Le'ochlav v'shelo le'ochlav. However, if one slaughter for those who can eat it, limnuyav v'shelo leminuyav, for those who cannot eat it and for those who have partake for it, lemulim ולערלים, לתמהים ולטהורים, for those who have the breed and those who not, those who are ritually impure and those who are ritually pure. What does that mean? We have here, it's called machshava miktzata. Partially, part of what you're doing is right, not fully. Some part is right. So he said, in that sense, Tosfot here comments that by force of circumstance, kasher, it's valid. Why? Because partially invalid intent does not disqualify the offering. Now, shchato kodem chatzot. The Paschal offering has a clear time frame. Middle of the day, in our language it's called chatzot. It's the earliest time they can do this Paschal lamb. So if someone made it in slaughter the Paschal lamb before midday, pasul, make it disqualified. Why? Mishum shene'emar, because the Torah said in the book of Shmot, Exodus chapter 12, Ben ha'arbaim, Ben ha'arbaim is in the afternoon, meaning after chatzot, after midday. So therefore, cannot have it earlier than that. It's clear biblical precept. Shchato kodem letamid. If you have a process in the service, part of that is a daily offering. So they have a daily offering that it's called tamid, and it's in the time of the afternoon. So if lechatchila, the way that we wish to, the way it should be, it has to be after tamid. If you remember, we discussed it several days ago in page 58 that the offering of Pesach has to be in a certain time, and it has to be after the daily afternoon offering. So, but here the Mishnah teaches if he did it earlier, so it's fine. But the avad, it's okay. But the condition, ובלבד שיהיה אחר ממרס בדמו. The condition is as long as another person stirs its blood in order to prevent it from congealing, which means that they have the blood needs to have flooding it. It's not the minute that is stuck, you cannot sprinkle it. The blood has to be in that condition that the Kohen, the priest, can sprinkle. If it's turned, like if it's freezing cold, it can be what?
Coagulate.
Right. So they said, Ad sheyizarek hatamid, until the blood of the daily offering is sprinkled on the altar, and then he can do the daily offering. So the whole idea of making it late, the late of the Paschal lamb, applied to all different Paschal work. So if it happened that Paschal lamb happened before the daily offering, he need to delay from sprinkling the blood of Pesach until after they sprinkle the blood of the daily offering. Ve'im nizrak kasher, again, here it's if a situation that nonetheless it happens, is sprinkled before the blood of the daily offering, so it's valid. It means that it does not disqualify the offering. So what we have here? We have here, after the process of slaughtering, we have here a situation that you have the daily offering, and you have the concept of ein ma'avirin ala mitzvot. That's basically the, now we enter the domain of the Shagat Aryeh. I just mentioned there's a book called, for those who walk in, there's a book called Shagat Aryeh. And he asks question, here the Gemarrah tells us that tadir v'sheno tadir kodem, right? That something frequent take place. So if you slaughtered something that it's not frequent, what's the halacha? Should we complete that something that it's not frequent because we're not ma'avirin ala mitzvot, because this is something that you have an opportunity to do, you should do it right away? Or maybe you should stop, you go back to something that is more frequent, because more frequent take precedence, and then you do the other. So the question is, if you start, should you continue or not? So he tried to bring a proof from this Mishnah, because what happened here? The Mishnah said if you have the offering of Passover before the daily offering, that's, or for example, in a regular manner, let's say, in a regular way, what shall happen? First, you have the daily offering, you slaughter the daily offering, and then you have the Paschal lamb. But if a person did the reverse order, he slaughtered the Paschal lamb first, before the daily offering, so what do you tell him? Stop the Paschal lamb, now you should go to daily offering, and when you're done, you return to Paschal lamb. So the Shagat Aryeh asked, here it's nothing to do with tadir and she'enot tadir, it's nothing to do with frequent and unfrequent. So there is another concept that it's called ye'uchar davar. What does that mean? We have one concept that's called ba'erev. You remember we talk about the evening time, a certain time measurement for doing. And then we have the ben arba'im meaning in the afternoon. So you should start with the daily offering, and then you have the Pesach. For example, we mentioned if you have talit and tefillin, so you go and you do what you have right away. If you have only tefillin, and ma'avirin ala mitzvot. If you have a hand and a hand tefillin, so you put, the Torah said, le'ot al yadcha u'letotafot ben einecha. So there is a time frame that always you start with the daily offering, and then you have the Paschal lamb. So he brought a Rambam that he tried to say that in our here, you may think that we should leave. We start like almost by mistake if a person does that, or he made it for Pesach and for some reason wasn't in the right order. He should leave it, go to daily offering, and then you go back to Pesach. So he tried to bring a proof from that, since we said Shchato kodem chatzot pasul, etc., etc. He tried to bring the proof from this Mishnah to that point. But I just gave you a vignette of the Shagat Aryeh. Anyway, Tanu Rabbanan. So the Brighter teach us Kitzad shelo leochlav. When the Mishnah speaks about situation that slaughtering a Paschal lamb for those who cannot eat it. Give me an example that you slaughter the Paschal lamb for people who cannot eat it.
Those who are uncircumcised, or
for
those
example,
who impure,
okay, or so
or
here,
somebody sick.
So good. So ketzad shelo leochlav. So the Gemara said the best is chole o leshum zaken, sick or elderly person. Isn't that interesting that they put the sick person and this old person that they are together? They cannot able to eat sometimes in even an olive-sized portion of the Paschal lamb. So the Divrei Chaim of the Tzanz, the great rabbi of Tzanz, said that they always put them together. It's not always correct. There are people who are just old by age. It's not necessarily they are sick. But anyway, here we speak about he cannot, in a regular manner, he cannot eat it. Now, you remember what we said, the principle which goes the entire daf is if you slaughter the Paschal lamb, it has to be for the intent. One of the things that you have to have in your mind, it's to have people eat it. And you have people, you know in advance that they cannot eat it, you cannot slaughter the Paschal lamb. Kitzad shelo limnuyav. Give me an example of situation that slaughtering a Paschal lamb for those who did not register, would not partake for it. Remember we said that it has to be like subscriber, people who partake for that. So he said, Nimnu alav chavora zo, ushchato l'shem chavora acheret. You have a group, let's call them A, and they get together to have the Paschal lamb. And when they slaughter it, they have the intent, the one who did it, for a different one. So here you have a Tosfot. דיבור המתחיל ויתקש אוכליו למנוייו. I'll just give you a little bit. ויש לומר, דשלא למנוייו אין זה שינוי בעלים, דשינוי בעלים לא פסיק אלא בזריקה. Here Tosfot try to tell us what's the difference between for the sake, לשם, or not לשם. If you do it for the certain בעלים or בעלים אחרים. So he tried to say, it's the book called Mikdash David. He explained this to Tosfot. You do the process. Remember we explained yesterday the 4 steps, and you do one or some of these processes for different purposes. So here we explain that there is a different, each one of these process, how we treat it. It's not all the same. Anyway, back to our sugya, mena nemile. How do we learn this important dini? The Tanu Rabbanan, we learn in regards to Paschal lamb. B'michsat nefashot. The Torah said clearly, use the word b'michsat, which means, let me read the text itself. They said, this is book of Exodus, chapter 12, and if the household be too little for a lamb. Then he and his neighbor, who is close to his house, shall take one according to the number of the souls, according to every man's eating. You shall make you count for the lamb. So you see here they use the word according to the number of melamed. This teaches us שאין הפסח נשחט אלא למנוייו. The Paschal lamb is slaughtered only for those who registered for it. So michsat is like measurement. Michsat, you see it in several places in the Tanakh. So as long as you have a participation of all the members, you fulfill this mitzvah. In order for you to partake, if you not partake of that, in other words, you're not registered as one of the people, you cannot part of this. Yachol, it's like membership club, right? The membership group. You are part of them. Yachol shchato shelo למנוייו יהיה כעובר על המצווה וכשר. How about if one slaughtered for those who did not subscribe? So you may say that nonetheless the offering will be valid, even if violate this commandment. Talmud lomar b'michsat tachosu. You have two different things. You have the shchita, the slaughtering, and you have the menuyim, the people who registered. Hakatuv shana alav le'akev. The Torah repeats it to make this requirement indispensable, which means that the offering is not qualified. So b'diavad, even if it wasn't for those registered, it's invalid. Okay? So in Kodashim we have a rule that if the Torah repeats it 2 times, it means that it cannot be, it cannot accept it. If it's once, you treat it differently. It's a Chazon Ish explained in Tractate Negaim, chapter 12, that we divide it. Anyway, Rabbi Omer, Lashon Susihu, which means the word Tachosu, it's basically come from the foundation of Aramaic language, and it means in Aramaic sursi, which means you should slaughter. כאדם שאומר לחברו כוס לי תלה זה. So it's like a person who said to his fellow, slaughter, it's kos, me, this lamb, which means that this subscriber, you have to do it before slaughtering. Again, we have here a process of doing things. And as we said it very early, that has to be in a certain order. Ashkechan shelo למנוייו. We understand the source of disqualified, a Paschal that was a slaughter for those who did not register. How about shelo le'ochlav menalan? How we derive the halacha that disqualified for those who cannot eat it? אמר קרא איש לפי אוכלו תחוסו. According to every man's eating, you shall make you count. So it means, so it has to be befitting to eat. You cannot slaughter for someone who cannot eat it, like elderly person, sick person. They cannot eat the size of olive bark. Or, for example, if you have some person who is not circumcised or person who is ritually impure, so itkash ochlin lemenuyin. We juxtapose the two, those who are registered to those who are eaten, which means that the same as the offering is disqualified if it's slaughtered, for those who did not subscribe for it. The same way is disqualified if it's slaughtered for those who cannot eat it. So because the Torah used the term lefi ochlo in attachment next to the word tachosu, we derive from that the same way is that for those who not subscribe, it's an issue, the same way is for those who eat it. ס"א עמוד ב' 61b, שחטו למולין. If one slaughtered the Paschal lamb for people who has the breed, that again, when is the time of the slaughtering, he has the proper mindset. But על מנת שיתקפו בו ערלים בזריקה, so Rashi explains that either those arelim that they are partake, they subscribe on Pesach, or those who are not registered. Rav Chizda amar pasul, Rabba amar kasher. Here we have machloket in the concept of machshavat arelim. Now we elaborate on that. Rav Chizda amar pasul, yesh machshavat arelim bizrika, which means that action, that reflection, that intent carries the disqualification of Paschal lamb. Rabba amar kasher en machshavet arelim bizrika. So there is a Brisker Rav of Brisk that have a big discussion over this machloket, because basically the Rambam tells us in the Hilchot Korban Pesach, the law of Paschal lamb, he said that this disputation applies solely of the people who are arelim, but not applied to a sick or elderly person. And the big discussion is what exactly the Rambam meant when it's come to do the sprinkling. What exactly involved with the intent, with the people who are partake of that, etc. Anyway, Amar Rabba mena minala. How do I know that? The Tanya. The Torah said in the book of Exodus, chapter 12, V'chol arel lo yochal bo. It's clear statement in the Torah that people who are not doesn't have the Brit Milah cannot eat it. יכול יפסול בני חבורה באים עמו. So if you have a group of people who are regular people, circumcised, and you have others that not. For example, if you have a person that all his brothers die while they have the Brit Milah, so he doesn't have he is arel, is not circumcised because of that circumstance. So the key is, since he's partake of that, Yachol Yifsol Bnei Chavura Ba'im Imo, that if they are all partake, so those who have the Brit Milah maybe will not be able to eat from that Paschal lamb. So they said, ודינו, הואיל ואורלה פוסלת וטומאה פוסלת, מה טומאה לא עשה במקצת טומאה ככל טומאה, ואורלה לא עשה במקצת עורלה ככל עורלה. So, in one hand, he said, even is a part of that, even it's not all, it already take place. So, in that sense, if you have partial of ritual impurity, or partial lack of circumcision, so was not be able, the same as one who to be like a full lack of Brit Milah. Or you can go the other way. Kelach lederech zo. You go in different direction. Or il ve'orla, we compare orla to pigul. Poselet, the thought of arelim, it makes it invalid. Uzman posel, and the intent out of framework of time, which means if you take a Paschal offering in order to eat it outside of framework of time. So that offering become pigul, which means pigul, it's like make it disqualified because it wasn't in a framework. Mazman asaba miktzat zman bechol zman aforla asaba miktzat orla kechol orla. So Rashi explains that even a person intend to eat even a size of olive bark, but outside of the time frame, so it's considering like the entire offering it's invalid. Aforla asaba miktzat orla kechol orla. So the same way, if you do a lack of if they have lack of circumcision, so he said partial lack of circumcision was made to be like full lack of circumcision, and the offering is disqualified. So now we try to reconcile. Nir ele midome. Let's see what is similar, which comparison seems more reasonable. Danin davar she'eno noeg bechol zvachim. Because all the offering, if you have achila, the idea of eating lo me'akevet only in Pesach, you have to eat midavar shelo noeg bechol hazvachim, from intent of ritual impure that is not applied to other offering. Va'al leochiach zman shenoeg bechol hazvachim, או כלך לך לדרך זאת, דנין דבר שלא הותר מכללו, מדבר שלא הותר מכללו, ואל תוכיח טומאה שהותרה מכללה. So we said that we have in one hand the intent, the law, someone who's uncircumcised male, so which allow it to make it rule, and the matter that which not allowance to make it is a rule. So we can go and compare the two. So the general goal is you cannot, it's like in our simple language, you cannot take apple and oranges and compare them. You have the ritual impurity, and you have the idea of a person who is uncircumcised, and you cannot compare the two. So therefore, since you are in a state of uncertainty, we continue, and it said Talmud lomar zot. We learn from the word zot, meaning this, zot chukas la Pesach. And let me bring the exact source to you. It's Exodus 12, and I quote, and Hashem said to Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover, no stranger shall eat from it, but every man's servant that is bought for money, when you have circumcised him, then shall he be eaten. What's implied when they use the word this? Mazot, ilei madechula orla psala, pasla. If you say that it comes to teach us that all members of the group are uncircumcised, the offering is disqualified. Haimi v'chol arel nafka. So this we derive from the words all the uncircumcised male. So that the whole idea is that the offering is invalidated only if all members of the group doesn't have the breed. Miktzata lo psala, partially not. Haini v'kol arel nafka el alav hachektanet. Talmud lomar v'kol arel kula ola psala miktzata lo psala. So it means that it's only if the portion for ola and portion for milah, it doesn't make it invalid. V'chita muadin lezrika, that apply to what, to sprinkling the blood. The kula ola miya pasla. תלמוד לומר זאת, בשחיטה היא לכולי העולם היא הפסלה, אבל זריקה אפילו קורלה למה לא פסלה. So it have to have this intent when they sprinkle it for the purpose of those who are reilim. זאת applies specifically to the שחיטה. That's what Rashi said. וחיתם אמר כולה דזריקה, דן מחשבת אוכלים בזריקה. So if you tell me that all the leniency, as we said, when it's come to zrika, that a sprinkling, that there is no intent concerning those who may eat it of the offering during the sprinkling. So intent to feed the Paschal lamb to those who are unable to eat it invalidated the offering only during the slaughter, but not during the sprinkling. So in other words, we divided it. The zrika, the sprinkling, is different. That's one school of thought. Verav Chizda, that he said that intent also makes to the other extreme totally disqualify the Paschal lamb. He said, Adraba lehi dach gisa. Go the other way. Talmud lomar v'chol-aaral kula orla pasla miktzata lo psala. And that's apply only in shchita. Aval zrika, but in regards to sprinkling, afilu miktzata nami pasla, which means that it's very similar to pigul. וכי תימא ודין לזריקה דעדיקה כולה עולה לא פסלה. That the only if it's entirely for the ערלים, תלמוד לומר זאת, שחיטה ודמקסתה לא פסלה, אבל זריקה אפילו מקסתה פסלה. וכי תימא אמר חומד זריקה לא מקבל פיגול על זריקה. So what we see here, that here even the mikzat, all the entire offering, it's make it invalid. Shchita is like go to the extreme. It's have that in order to invalidate it, you have to have kulo arelim. So you see here that if you intend while you have this offering to eat outside of the framework of time, so it's considering a pigul. But is a Rashi here. I wish to have time. Rashi here elaborates on that at length. Anyway, just let's finish the sugya. מתקיף לרבשי ממאי דהי וחול-aaral כולה משמע. דילמה היי וחול-aaral משמע דכל שהוא, כל דהו עורלה. כתב רחמן הזאת, דעדיקה כולה עולה לא פסלה, לא שנה בשחיטה, לא שנה בזריקה. So it means that it has to have a complete work, that if you have מחשבת ערלים, it's not enough to make it invalid. אלא אמר רבשי, רב חיסדא ורבא, uh, 62, בהייקה מפליגי. So just few words in Rashi. Rashi said, אצלנו לזרוק דמו למנויו ערלים שבהם לבדם דאב עיקול הזריקה לערלים מנויו. So it means that you can make it invalid, ונרצה לו לכפר עליו, and it shall be accepted for him to make atonement for him. So what does that mean? עליו ולא על חברו. It has to be for him and not for his friend. So you cannot have atonement to offering that has been designated for someone else. It has to be for that specific person. רבא סבר חברו דום ידידי. His fellow is the same as him. What does that mean? מהו דבר כפרה, just as he is eligible for atonement, אף חברו דבר כפרה. So also his fellow is also it's eligible for atonement. Lapuke, come out of that. Hai arel de lav bar kaparao. So this is uncircumcised person who is not eligible for atonements. So since we have this arel, someone who is uncircumcised who is not fit for Paschal lamb, slaughtering for him does not qualify the offering. So there is a Gemarrah in Zvachim, page 7. They said that the two people has to be the same as one has to be the same as the other, which means if someone's slaughtering a sin offering for they having the intent for a burn offering, so in that school of thought is not make it disqualified. because it's all depend upon the person what exactly he is obligated to do. So because he's basically, the Mikdash David explained the whole idea of atonements, he is like doing tikkun for himself. So in that sense, we do not differentiate between different intent of offering, as long as he's offering. That's one school of thought. Rav Chizda savar pag-aaral namei kevan devar chiyuv. Here we talk about person who is not circumcised. Since he is obligated to bring paschal offering, he is considering eligible for atonement through, in that sense, through paschal lamb. Bar kaparahu. So he is basically eligible for atonement. Because since if he wants, he can make himself fit through Brit Milah, and the obligation will automatically apply to him. So again, we have now the whole idea that the Shagat Aryeh I mentioned at the beginning of this shiur. You ask a question. Let's say if you have Milah shelo bizmana b'Shabbat. Let's say the miscalculate the time of the baby born, and they went ahead and they did the Brit Milah in the wrong time, and it was Shabbat. So do you require that baby to go and have atafat dam brit or not?
What's atafat dam?
That take a little sprinkle of a small tiny drop of blood
And sprinkle it on the...
No. For example, if you have...
Oh, is that what the...
Let's say a person who's circumcised as a baby, and you know, in our culture, in our world, there are many
is that
people.
when they take them out?
No. And what happened is, people later in life decided to, let's say, for example, to be Baal Tshuva, or to convert to Judaism.
Right.
But they already have a Brit Milah.
Yeah.
So what do? You know, the same way as you have those small needles that you use for some people who have diabetic, and others, they use those needles. So you take this small minute needle and you pull out a tiny minute blood, and that's called hatafat dam brit.
Where do you do it? Which part of it? By the hand?
No, by the brit.
By the brit.
And that's the way you basically make, in a simple way, it's like symbolic. Because the persons already have the brit when he was a baby. So let's say he decided to be Jewish later in life, so you do atafat dam brit. So what?
If they just pull a little blood, But if he's a Jew already and they done it, even if they done it ahead of time, it should be okay, right?
Correct. But here they ask a question. If the brit wasn't on proper time, it happens on Shabbat, but it was not in the right time. You know, brit has to be at the 8 days. So the Shagat Aryeh ask, how are you treated? You say that he needs to have atafat dam brit or not? So he goes and he said, from this sugya which we study today, he said that the diavad, it's considering milah, and you do not require atafat dam brit. Right, because of this sugya. There are two types of disqualification when it's come to the improper thought. The thought that bring about a change of sanctity relate to the status of the offering itself, while a thought to sacrifice one offering for a different honor relates to something external to the offering itself. So here are some examples, and I'm just paraphrasing the Rambam, Sefer HaKorbanot, Hilchot Korban Pesach. Shchato shelo leochlav. Take the paschal lamb, and it's slaughtered for people who cannot eat it, or for people who did not subscribe for it. So that's make it disqualified. But if they slaughter for people who cannot eat it, as well as people who can eat it, or for people who did not subscribe for it, and also people who did not registered for it, it is valid. So that's basically the Mishnah. Or we explain that there is an order. We have to have Tamid, the daily offering, and then we have to have Pesach. But if we switch it, for example, if a Paschal lamb is slaughtered for its owner before the mid of the day, which is the day of 14th of Nisan, so basically it's disqualified because there has to have a procedure. And we delayed it, as we explained several times, the latest possible. There's two places. One is the Rambam, Ilchot Korban Pesach, chapter 1, and also Ilchot Psulei HaMukdashim, chapter 15. Less halacha of today. If one slaughtered the Paschal lamb after the daily afternoon offering has been slaughtered, but before the blood has been sprinkled on the altar, because we said that the zrika, that's part of that. One of the Kohen should stir the blood of the Paschal lamb until the daily offering has been sprinkled. So after that, the Kohen should sprinkle the blood of the Paschal lamb. So, but if it does it in the work time, so you have here again issue that make it pasul, invalid, and that's Rambam Sefer Korbanot, Ilchot Korban Pesach, chapter 1.
Oh.